we are back, episode 144 of Journey to a Million here on this cold, windy Wednesday evening here. Zack Rausch, Jared Valleskey, myself, Drew Skyberg, all three with you tonight. How you guys doing?
All right.
After a heated debate in the group chat last night, we're recovered.
Heated,
Jared's forgiven Zach. Everybody's okay. And
It's easy to forgive when you know you're right.
I didn't forget. No, what? That did not happen. What do you mean? We got more to talk
Wrong,
about.
right?
I'm not wrong. I think that you guys are biased. For you to say that the Packers are a top 5 and that the Ravens aren't, and then say that the reason they're not is because of their defense.
I didn't say they're top 5. I'm saying they're one of.
You
the
said,
5
can we
teams that
be?
win the Super
You
Bowl.
said, can we all agree that there's 5 teams with a realistic shot to win the Super Bowl, and the Packers were one of those top 5?
Yep.
Then Drew said Ravens. You said no, their defense isn't good enough.
Correct.
But you're trying to make the argument that the Packers defense is good enough. Like, that's not
Better
okay.
than the Ravens.
It's not. It really isn't.
This year it is. Ravens defense has been awful.
As of late, yeah, their defense has not been the best the Ravens, which you would think would be a strong suit of that squad. I will say, Jared, I know I just sent that in the link in the group chat last night of like just some odds, kind of like what Vegas thinks in championship winner odds. I don't know how much you care about that or what I'm about to tell you, but obviously Lions clear cut. Plus 275, Chiefs, Bills, Eagles all tied at plus 500. I think that's fair. I don't know. I think those are fine. Then it's kind of like maybe you're saying like, hey, those are the tier 1 teams, tier 2, Ravens and Packers in there because they have it plus 1,000 and then Packers plus 1,500 and then the Vikings are a bit behind that, Jared, plus 2,200. Yeah, really. I mean, what Zach? The trust in Darnold is a big reason why we see the Vikings that low.
Why, like going into the year, you didn't trust Darnold at all. I get that. I mean, he hasn't proven anything, and now he's had a great year. How is he supposed to gain that trust that he can do it? Like, what's he supposed to do?
Where he goes out there and looks like the Jets Sam Darnold.
A few games, sure, but but you're saying that a few games, right? So you're dictating that he hasn't done it consistently. That's like your thing. But then now you're sitting here and saying the Ravens defense has been shaky as of late. Well, I don't think they allowed a touchdown to the Steelers, the team that just put up 44 points last week.
It's shaky all year.
The Steelers just scored 44 points. I know that's not like the Steelers, but the week before or 2 weeks before they played the Ravens, they couldn't get in the end zone. Ravens defense kept them out, didn't score a touchdown. So for a team to average like 30 points, the Steelers are fine. They find ways to win. They have the best defense in the league. Their offense is good enough. The Ravens, great offensively. They have a decent defense. Sure, it's been shaky. But for you to say that the Ravens defense has been shaky, so they're not a contender, but then the Packers defense allows them to be a contender, that I have a problem with that.
Packers defense is significantly better than the Ravens defense.
I just 100% disagree. You've played 3 really good teams this year, and you've lost all 3. And in those games, their defense is the reason they lost. It's not like you didn't score any points. You scored 30 points against the Vikings. You scored 30 points against not the Lions. What did you score against the Lions? Like 25?
14.
Like
14. 31
14. Okay, so that game was a little less.
7 at halftime. Because the issue was first half, Love looked hurt. Like if you watch the game, he looked hurt. He could barely move.
Well, he shouldn't have played that game. Yeah, I know.
The defense was on the field the entire first half. Like if you look at time breakdown, it's probably like 20 to 10 minutes. Like that was probably the possession breakdown. So when you're on the field for the entire game, yes, you're going to give up points.
So what game was that you're talking about?
First half either.
What game are you talking about?
Vikings. Okay.
Vikings. They started down 28-0.
Yeah, the defense didn't look good either, but I think also like 2 of those scores, they got the ball like the 30 or 40 yard line from interceptions. So,
well,
absolutely.
I just want to say we can agree, right? The Packers have played 3 above average teams this year so far, right? The 49ers have been shaky. The Dolphins have been pretty bad. Like contenders. If you don't want to say the Lions or the Vikings are a contender, sure. But for sure, 2.
Dolphins, Rams, and Arizona.
Those are mid teams. They're 500 or less. like
all around
we
playoff
beat the
contention.
Dolphins. We beat the Dolphins. Do you think that we're like no, like we're 6-7. We beat the teams you're talking about as
Did you
contenders
play
or
with
like
Tua
good
or no
teams.
Tua? Because that's totally different. You can't say you beat the Dolphins when they didn't have Tua, and then compare it to when the Packers just beat
Tua.
the Dolphins. That's two totally different.
You can't say that. You say you beat Tua. Say you beat the Dolphins in week 3 when it was hot outside and you beat them. That looks a little bit better than beating them week 13, week 12 when it's negative or when it's 20 degrees and you know Tua
Conditions
can't
are
play.
different
So
than
Tua in
facing the
20-degree
quarterback.
temperature is basically Tim Boyle, correct?
Tua played very well, I thought, actually, last week.
He actually
did.
played
He
well.
must have almost 400 yards.
What
I
are you
think
saying?
Against
I
their
think
defense, that's another thing against their defense. I mean, allowing Tua in harsh conditions, as everyone brought it up to be, not his conditions, still to allow 400
They gave
passing
up
yards.
17 points.
I think to
their defense got
Jared's
a few takeaways.
point. So Jared's main thing is the Packers haven't beat those A-tier teams, right? They've beaten a couple maybe low B teams, but I mean, in the grand scheme, whose fault is it? A little bit of the Packers. I mean, they've only played maybe 3 of those like really good teams, but at the same time, they've only lost to good teams. They've not lost to any bad teams. And I mean, in the NFL, anything can happen, right? The Raiders beat the Ravens. I mean, I'm just saying that.
Can I just add one thing? On like the not beating the good teams, the 3 times they played good teams, the one time against the Eagles week 1, Love got hurt early in the second half, I think.
Oh, come on.
And then
everyone was slipping
Lions,
around that game. He did not get hurt. It was okay. He
2 weeks after that. What do you mean he didn't get hurt?
He was playing like the entire game. Did he not play like the whole game until the end?
Yeah, but the injury caused him to miss 2 weeks. He got in the early second half.
He played the entire game.
Like
you can't say he got hurt when he finished the game. Sure, he got hurt. He sat out a few weeks, but he didn't get hurt because he was still playing.
Boarding the plane on the way back to Green Bay?
No, he might have gotten banged up, which
that was a long flight.
If he was hurt, he wouldn't have played. It's week 1. If they didn't think he could have played, they wouldn't have played him. It's week 1. Why would they risk him? If they knew he was severely hurt, they wouldn't have played him.
Chance to win the game.
Who cares about one game? It's Love. It's the whole season for him. Why would they risk that? You know that. And plus, I want to add one thing. No, you said I know
I'm not done with my point yet. Let me finish my point.
Whatever.
The other 2 games, they run back for huge divisional games against the top 2 teams of the division. If you watch either of those games, the first half, he looked hurt. Like he was probably playing at like 60%.
Any more excuses? Was the sun in his eyes on a few throws? Did he not tie his shoes? What else?
Don't just look at the box score. Watch the game.
I'm not looking at the box score. I'm looking at the teams they played, the good teams, and you're trying to say their defense is good enough when the Ravens aren't good enough. But they've scored 30 points against these teams they've lost to, but they've given up 35.
Against Detroit, 24, Philly.
That's the one game. That's the one game they didn't score a lot of points, and their defense.
There was a pick 6 in there too. I mean, with Love, so not to cherry pick, but like really the defense only gave up 17 points against Detroit, which
Detroit is the outlier. That's what Detroit is the one outlier.
But
against the Vikings, 29-31.
Minnesota's 34 and 2. The touchdowns were like 30-yard fields. So, like, yeah, you still, I guess, can discredit them because they gave up the touchdown. But it's also...
They had really good field position.
Yeah.
I think you're missing my point. I know what you're saying. You're saying that, there's reasons the defense gave up points. I'm not saying that that's discredited to their defense. I mean, it happens to every team, but we're going to move past that and say, yes, you can't discredit the defense for, being on the field, giving up a touchdown. Love throws a pick. They get the ball, whatever. My point is that it happens to the Ravens too. The Ravens have beaten good teams. They have gotten those close games and they've won. They lost a few games, but that's not discredit to their defense. Their defense has been amazing. Your point you're making is that the Packers defense is better than the Ravens defense, and the Ravens aren't contenders because they don't have a good enough defense. So if you're going to say that, how can you also say that, okay, well, it's not the Packers defense fault when we're put in a short field. You don't think the Ravens were ever put in a short field? It happens to every team. You can't discredit the Ravens and say they're not contenders because their defense isn't good enough.
All right, Jerry. If
Packers gave up 30 points to every good team they've played.
We just went over that they did not give up 30 points. But anyways, if you're saying the Ravens
24 to the Lions, the outlier, like I said.
17, a pick six, Jared. Are we gonna come?
Oh my God, a pick six. Oh,
if you're saying the Ravens,
You know about those.
I said it's an outlier.
That proves my point of why the Ravens aren't contenders. It's because like their offense needs to put up points. Like, was the Ravens or the Raiders game? What was the final score of that?
Their offense does not need to put up that many points to win, dude.
Let me check that for you, Zach.
They beat Denver 41-10. They beat
26-23.
Buffalo. Hey, let me say something real quick. Hold on.
Go
Let me. I let you talk. Now let me talk. Their offense needs to put up points to win, huh? Okay. How about when they beat Buffalo 35-10, or when they beat Denver 41-10, or they barely lost to Pittsburgh 16-18? These are great. These are good teams, playoff teams. The Eagles 19-24. These are playoff teams. Their defense or Chargers, they gave up 23 points. That's not their offense doesn't need to score. That's their defense is doing a great job. And sometimes they're not scoring enough. But like if they're not scoring enough, they're putting up 16 points
Jared,
to 18.
You want to argue numbers? Look at this. Points per game allowed. Green Bay Packers 20. What do you think the Ravens are at?
Well, let's see, because they gave up a few games here, like against Cincinnati. They won 41-38.
They gave up 45.
No,
I'm gonna guess like 27.
Their highest
26?
is 38 against the Bengals. No, it's going to be like 24 or something.
24.5.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at
That
here.
is, what is that in the league? Let's see here. It's bottom half for sure. It's 21st in the league.
Okay, so you're going to say that, right? Okay, hold on. No.
10th
You're using this is terrible for you because watch. Who have the Packers played that you said are contenders? Okay, you said who? You said Lions and you said Eagles. Okay. The Ravens have played the Chiefs.
All right, Jared.
No.
Logic.
Chiefs.
Hold on.
Bills.
You're using this logic, taking the contenders the Packers have played, the best offense, the best teams in the NFL, not necessarily offense, best teams in the NFL, and comparing them to the Ravens, all of their games. When if you take the same sample size of Ravens games against games they played against teams not even in the playoffs, you take the two Bengals games, they're not even making the playoffs, and their points per game are mid-30s.
But didn't you just make the argument?
Doing it to playoff teams.
Didn't you just make the argument that you held the Dolphins to 17 points and all that, even though they're not a playoff team? You still made the argument that they can't just be breezed over and they're a decent team and they can still score points. You just made that argument.
You have to take context into account.
That's what I'm trying to do here. I'm looking at not only that. I said they beat the Bengals 41-38. Like they gave up 38 points. That's not good. But we can admit that Joe Burrow's having a great year and their offense is good. Their defense is the problem for the Bengals. We don't have to talk about the Bengals. My point was that, I mean, they played the Eagles. They played the Steelers. Obviously, they played the Chiefs and the Bills, like I said. They played Denver. They played the Chargers. Those are playoff teams. The Packers have played like 3 or 4 playoff teams this year. And you're saying they haven't allowed them as many points. Of course not. Playoff teams are better. They score more. I mean, you can't compare these two.
Okay, Jared, here's the issue. Baltimore Ravens, dead last in the NFL for passing yards allowed. 3,444.
They've allowed the most, you said?
Yeah, most in the NFL. You tell me that once you get in the playoffs and you're that one-dimensional on what you can do as a defense, you're telling me one of these top offenses in the NFL that's in the playoffs isn't going to pick you apart? You're out of your mind.
Zach,
especially considering
you're
they're
missing
not going to be the 1 seed.
You're missing a key
They
element
might have
here.
to go on the road every single game.
You're missing the key element here.
One of those 4 games, the offense is going to pick them apart, and they're going to allow 35 points. And you run into a somewhat competent defense, guess what?
You're just completely ignoring the teams they play. They're in the AFC North. They
have one of the toughest schedules. They had Chiefs too.
Yeah, I know the Packers are in a good division, but they've played the Lions once. They've played the Vikings once, right? So far.
And the Bears once.
The Bears, yeah.
Okay.
Joe Burrow threw for 400 yards against him because Joe Burrow's having a great year. Like, that's just what he's doing. Jameis Winston's having a good year, although he hasn't played the whole year. He threw for 350 against them.
Okay, Jared, how about this?
Things happen like that.
It's Joe Burrow, the 2 games that he played against Baltimore, he threw for 800 yards. I don't know what
Mhm.
the exact numbers are.
It's
probably
about
somewhere
that, yeah.
You take out the 800 yards, they're 2,600-ish. That's like 20th in the NFL still. Taking out 2 games. Taking out the biggest 2 games against them as well. It's not even just 2 random games.
How about the Cowboys when Dak Prescott was playing week 3 when they were still a contender, giving up 400
Did
yards
you
to
watch
him?
that offense? They couldn't move the ball.
Huh? What's your what?
The Cowboys?
The Ravens couldn't move the ball, or the Cowboys couldn't move
No,
the
the
ball?
Cowboys couldn't. Their offense sucked.
It was 28-25. It was a pretty close game. The offense didn't suck week 3. They played pretty well against the Ravens.
Did you watch that game? They scored like 2 touchdowns or whatever in the last like 7 minutes. That's what reason it was close. It was a
They had 3
blowout the whole
touchdowns
game.
total. Let me see.
Yeah, it was a blowout the whole game.
So just to kind of get us guys onto some sort of, because now we're just talking stats back and forth. So are we arguing the Ravens are not a contender because they don't have a great defense? Like, I mean, like we have like 3 or 4 different arguments going.
That's what Zach's trying to prove here. And
Okay,
I don't understand.
With where their defense is right now in the season, they are not winning the Super Bowl.
Do you think they have a better or worse shot than the Packers?
He's gonna say worse. Yeah, of course.
They have a worse shot. So
Also,
so
like,
that
that's not even factoring in their history in the playoffs of stinking. Was Lamar like 1-4 in the playoffs or something like that?
See, you make
But-
exceptions for teams that you think are gonna make it. Then you find any reason not to credit the
What-
teams that
yeah.
might have a chance.
What I'm wondering, Zach, is okay. So the defense, obviously, like they've given up some big point totals and stuff. Do we want to count like they've played better offenses too than some teams as well? I mean, like look at the Ravens schedules. They played also. I don't have the strength of schedule metric up, but it's got to be
Top 5
at least
for
top
sure.
10,
Yeah.
maybe even top 5 in terms of even offensive output they're facing, the teams they're facing. So do you think? And obviously they're playing teams that again. Jared alluded to that they would play in the playoffs. So you're saying, like they were playing against these teams, they're already given up this much yardage, points, etc. You feel, and you alluded to playoff history as well too. I'm not looking at playoff history specifically with them or like Lamar. We're talking about the defense, right? You mentioned the defense as the concern. Or
So, well, I don't know where this number actually comes from, but looking at this, the Packers actually have a harder strength of schedule than the Ravens. I don't know if it's Sharp Football Analysis website. I have no idea if that's like taking into account just the games that are played or all of them or what. But anyways, yeah. So I don't know. Like I just looking at a team like they need to be able to put it all together and make it through the playoffs. Right? Because
Have the Packers?
What? Have they? They've looked a lot better the last like 2-3 weeks, and we saw last year the same thing.
But what about
put it together?
4 weeks ago? What about 4 weeks ago? You're using past experiences to say it's going to happen again.
I said the last like 2-3
Obviously, you don't
weeks,
know.
They've been playing a lot better. Love
Yeah, but
has
what
been
about
turning the ball
3-4
over,
weeks ago? Then what?
playing
Like,
great.
if Kirk didn't throw 4 picks last week, Love would be second in interceptions. Now he's third because Geno has 12, but Love still has 11 picks.
Yeah, sure.
In
I'm not
what,
saying
8-9 games
they
that he's
are
played?
there right now, but I'm saying that they have shown more that they can get there than the Ravens have. They have the talent to do it. Like the Packers have also had games throughout the year where their defenses looked phenomenal for a game. And then like the next week, their defense might not look as good, but their offense looks phenomenal. For the Ravens, I wouldn't say there's a week where it's like their defense looked like a top defense in the NFL. From what I've seen.
Week 3,
That I
they
haven't
scored
watched every
38 against Buffalo. They lost. They allowed 10 points from Josh Allen. Like after week 3, everyone is saying Ravens easily best team, and since then they've gone like 6-2, and they've beaten great teams. I don't see the fall off anywhere. I don't understand where you're getting this
Maybe it's
narrative
also
that
just, like,
they have to score
other
all these
thing, like-
points. They just put it together. I'll admit one thing about the Ravens, because my roommate's a Steelers fan, and I hear a lot of Ravens talk. Lamar can be inconsistent. Against the Steelers, he didn't score a touchdown. The week after, he scored 40 points. You're either getting the 500 yards a game with 4 touchdowns, Lamar, and 50 yards rushing, or you're getting the 150 passing yards with 1 touchdown, 1 pick, and no yards rushing. He can be inconsistent, but that's not against their defense. That's just inconsistency with their entire team. You can't say every team doesn't have that. Every team does.
Maybe I'm just putting this on their defense more or less, but also like another thing I don't like about the Ravens is they have always showed just dropped dud games against the Raiders. How do you lose to the Raiders? With was it Gardner Minshew was playing?
Hey, the Chiefs almost lost to the Raiders just last week. It's the NFL, like Drew said. Anything can happen.
And that's why the strength of schedule, by the way, for the Ravens is so. I was just looking into a prior all the NFC North teams are on top, of course, because they have the division opponents times 2. So that's why when you compound that with your schedule, hence the NFC North teams are all on top. Literally, Bears are number 1 just because of how historic the NFC North has been this year.
Yeah.
But looking at the Ravens schedule, in terms of a full spread of games, I'd say it definitely looks tougher. So I'd say, but again, teams can win games, teams can lose games, no matter who the opponent is. So it's the NFL. So
it's exception too. It's like if you're playing against, say, you're the Packers, right, and you play against the Lions, you play against the Vikings, and you come out on top, you win those games. Then you look at the schedule and you see, we got the Panthers next week. Are you going to play you're going to go into the game like you're playing against the Bills? Or are you going to go into the game like you're playing the Panthers? You're like, okay, they're not that good. We're still going to obviously play to win. But there's exceptions. So, like the Chiefs. They beat all these good teams. Now they play the Raiders, and they play down to their competition because they don't think they need to maybe try as hard, which obviously you try every game. But you go in expecting a lot less, and other teams might deliver. They might have a good game. Look at last night, the Browns, or Monday. The Browns are 3-10, but when Jameis is having a great year when he's played. So the Broncos took care of business, but I don't think they expected Jameis to throw for 497 yards or whatever he did. You don't expect that, but it happens.
Let me ask you this. Do you think the Broncos and Chargers, would you say they're pretty comparable teams this year?
Yeah.
Would you say they have a realistic shot to win the Super Bowl?
Broncos and Chargers? No, I don't. I don't think so. Maybe the Chargers more than the Broncos.
I'd say same.
I mean, Bo Nix is a rookie, and I don't think they're in the right spot to win a Super Bowl. I think that Justin Herbert's been in the league. They have an experienced head coach. They have a winning head coach now. They have
do you think that neither one
a good defense.
Has a realistic shot? Not the difference between why do you think neither one has a realistic shot?
I think that the Broncos are 1 year away, and I think that the Chargers have a chance. I mean, I don't think they're going to win it. I think they could contend, but I don't think they're going to win. What are you looking for? Do you want me to say they're not the same? They're having similar seasons. They're about on the same level right now, but they're not going to make it for different reasons. The Broncos. When's the last time a rookie quarterback has led a team to the Super Bowl? I don't know if it's happened. For the Chargers, it's okay, first-year head coach. Herbert's finally coming into his own, but I feel like they're lacking a little bit on both sides of the ball. They don't have weapons, and their defense can be shaky at times, but that's, different.
This is, I'm just going to break down, the way I look at it. When I look at, say, I agree, the Broncos are behind the Chargers yet.
Yeah.
If I look at the Chargers, I say, in the playoffs, are they going to be able to run the ball consistently for 4 games and average over 3.5, 4 yards a carry? Are they going to be able to do that against 4 playoff teams?
Probably not.
So then what does that do? It makes them one-dimensional. Do they have the superstar quarterback, right? Herbert is good enough.
He's been better this year. I mean, winning.
That was actually a narrative inside of a narrative.
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
Do they
Okay.
have the weapons to be able to be a one-dimensional offense?
The Chargers, no, they don't have
many
weapons.
The Bengals are a team that has the weapons to do that.
Yeah,
Right?
no,
If you
Lad
have
McConkey
Higgins
and
and
Quentin
Chase.
Johnston aren't weapons. I mean, they're good, but they're a few years away yet. Yeah.
Will Disley, they got a couple.
But
but they know the guy.
Yeah.
Because their defense is good enough. Both those teams, the defenses are good enough. So that's where I rule out them 2 teams. right? Like they're
But
not
okay, hold on. Let me just cut you off real quick. You can continue, but you're saying the defenses are good enough, right? Like you're saying Chargers defense is good enough.
Yeah,
I mean, they just allowed 500 passing yards, like the Ravens just allowed. Like things happen
Chargers
where
are top
there's
defense
outliers,
in the
games
NFC.
where, besides the Steelers, I'd say, but I mean, the Ravens defense has been similar to the Chargers defense, where they're good enough. They can be good enough. Like I don't know.
I think you're too stuck
Continue,
in the
though.
past Ravens defenses. That's my opinion.
What's the difference this year?
They have a new defensive coordinator. They haven't been as effective.
I mean,
Roquan's been banged up a little bit too. I mean, I'm just going. They lost Patrick Queen. I mean,
yeah,
like-
I'll admit that this year their defense has taken a step back, sure, but that's not going to be the reason that they're not contenders. That's my point.
There's a reason they're still. I mean, in terms of futures and favorites, they're still number 5. I mean,
Yeah.
and they're it's pretty sizable ahead of Green Bay, for example.
Yeah, I'm not saying like they are.
I think they're in the same tier as the Packers.
I think my problem, I admitted, the Packers are a good team. I'd say they're a great team. That was never my argument. My argument was you can't discredit teams like the Vikings and the Ravens and then say your team is better. Like they're in the same tier. That's what I'm saying.
I think I can with the Vikings.
Why?
I think I can do it all I want.
They have the best receiver in the league. They have. I mean, Darnold's been good this year. He's been
Go to that
worse
Vikings
lately.
Jaguars game. Please just watch some of it.
Okay, we'll go to the Texans. Go to the Texans Vikings game when they beat the Texans by 32. Like
Jared, the
things
issue is
happen.
If you can look bad against the Jaguars, wait until you get to play the Eagles. You're telling
I'm
me
sorry.
if they want to play the Eagles right now?
Sorry, the Chiefs won the
Darnold
Super Bowl 2023 and 2022, and the Colts beat them both years. I mean, things happen. Drew said this many times. It's the NFL. Like last year, in NBA, the Celtics won the finals, and they took the Pistons to overtime. The Pistons won 10 games all year. Like things happen. That's just how sports go.
Do the Vikings and Eagles play this year?
I don't know.
I think they already would have already, right?
No, we don't play the NFC East this year. It would have been. They don't play.
And as much as I hate the Texans, I mean, you still can't rule them out 100% either. I mean, they're 8-5. They're going to win the division. They're going to be a playoff team. And like you said, can they run the ball? Yes. Can they throw the ball? Yes. They're very much two-dimensional. Their offensive line is their worst part of their team by far. Their defense is good.
What are you talking about?
Texans. The only downside of their team is their offensive line. That is it.
Their offense.
Their defense is great. Their weapons are great.
The receivers have not.
Chris
I mean,
Stroud is
besides
having a
Nico,
slump.
Tank hasn't done anything.
They've been hurt
I mean,
too. They lost Diggs. They've been hurt.
Oh yeah, no,
That's right.
that's what.
This is like the same thing I was talking about the Chargers and Broncos. I look at that offense. I'm like, how they've looked so far this year. I don't know that I trust them to put up enough points for 4 straight games.
Yeah. Trevor Lawrence is out for the year, by the way. It just came through. I know he was on the IR, but yeah, he's out for the year.
Oh, there go my
He hasn't been fantasy.
Yeah. I just have a problem. Maybe it's just the whole I don't want to say Packer fans because there's a lot of great Packer fans out there, and
Yeah, like me.
just us Packer fans.
There's Zach. There's Zach
yeah.
out here just saying
There's
the
just
Ravens already been
every
a football
fan
team.
base has delusion. Yeah.
No, Ravens
I
are
watched that
definitely
Ravens.
sick.
I've watched the Ravens play 8 games this year, and maybe 1 or 2 Lamar hasn't looked elite. He's a 2-time MVP. He has a great he had a great chance of winning another one this year, but other quarterbacks are outperforming him, so he's not gonna. But
He's done that the last.
you
2
can't
years
tell me
too,
that
though,
that
and
team
it
isn't
gets
a
to the
contender.
Playoffs and they fall apart.
See,
Because the Bucks struggled up until 2021 doesn't mean they didn't do it all in 2020. Teams struggle and then they break through. Maybe the Ravens break through.
I'm with both of you in some pieces. I'm totally with Jared on the fact that I do think the Ravens are a contender. I think they do have a realistic shot of winning, but I do also agree with Zach in terms of with the Vikings part. Obviously,
You're also a little bit biased because you're Packer fans, right? You can admit that. You don't think the
You know,
Vikings will win?
I think I would admit
The
if I thought the Vikings were a better football team. I think I
Yeah,
would.
we have no
I
problem.
think I can admit the Lions
The
are.
Lions are better. Like
The Lions are
Yeah.
better.
Well, I think if you wouldn't say that, like, you would lose all credibility because the Lions are obviously like the best team in the league right now.
Doesn't mean that the Packers aren't going to beat the Lions tomorrow.
Which I think they will.
You think they're gonna?
DJ
Detroit?
Reader got ruled out. I was surprised because that's a huge part for the D line. That was one of the guys, Zach, who when I answered your question.
You know,
One of
if
the
you
ones
take
that's
out that
actually-
5 interception game from Goff, I know they still won that game, but you take that game out, Goff is having a historically great year, like completion percentage wise, no interception wise, touchdown wise. Like, sure, he's only throwing for 100 yards a game. Like some games,
He'll finish probably third in MVP voting, maybe even behind that. I just think it should be. Well, do you think Saquon's going to finish ahead of him as a finalist?
Do I think he will? No. Do I want him to? Of course. I mean,
I think he should.
there's a lot of bias.
He should. Well, he's going to win OPOY. I mean,
Yeah.
regardless. Which, by the way, I was thinking about this before. Think about the season Jamar Chase is having to not win, and obviously the pace Henry was on before as well.
Yeah.
Honestly, like Chase is on pace for what, like 1,600 yards. Like the receiver year this year is just down from what we've seen the last few years.
Yeah.
Chase right now, Zach, is at 13 touchdowns,
Yeah, his touchdown.
1,142 yards.
Yeah, so he's averaging a little bit under 100 yards a game, which is like
It's crazy.
1,600-ish range, and on pace for like 18 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So like,
Yeah,
I mean,
like the last few years, I think we've had like a 1,800-yard receiver the last like 2-3 years, haven't we? Or the Lamb might have been like mid 1,700s last year, something like that.
so but yeah, to your point though, like yeah, the receiver, like we haven't had that Michael Thomas, Cooper Kupp year, if you will, where like it's runaway receiver. And Saquon's the pace he's on right now too. I mean,
He's on pace for 2,000 yet, right?
Yep, yeah, he still is. I just want to give you the
Ashton Genty did it in like 10 games, by the way, but moving on.
Yeah. So Saquon's at right now at $14.99.
Not even close.
The thing about Saquon though, like obviously, I think he's getting, and I think he's got that award pretty sealed up now. But he's at $14.99 right now in terms of yardage. So yeah, totally the 2000s in the realm of possibilities. He's only got 11 touchdowns. I say only, and obviously, county stats like that, voters like for that. I mean, think about like LaDainian Tomlinson, for example. You know, think about the big touchdown years he had, or Adrian Peterson. I think that those kinds of counting stats really drive that award, which I do think still he has it locked up. But I think for an MVP kind of season, if you put up like 20 touchdowns, you know, like if we saw a number like that from a running back in this day and age, I think
if Jalen Hurts wasn't his quarterback, he'd have 20.
See, that's the other part too. I think that really is Hurts, and that's where people have talked about having Hurts in the MVP finalists just because he's a quarterback. And it's like, no, it's got to be Saquon. If you're gonna take an Eagle,
yeah,
Gibbs and Monty both have 11 or 12 now, right? Like they're both on pace for 15, 16 at the end of the year. I know, like
I gotta look that up.
Like their touchdown lines on like Underdog or whatever, like it's favored that they do score a touchdown.
Oh yeah, and so Gibbs is actually at 973
for touchdowns.
Oh, I'm looking at yards right now. They're doing a rushing
973 touchdowns,
and then Montgomery's at 720.
Gibbs is 3 yards.
Hold on. So not to redirect here. I just want to say one more thing about this conversation we had. If the Packers come out and they beat the Lions or they beat the Vikings, if they beat the Vikings, then maybe I'll rule out the Vikings. But for you guys to say that you're a contender and the Vikings aren't after they've beaten you in the only game that you've played together this year, it's just kind of crazy to me. You know, they've beaten you fair and square. I mean, you were both healthy basically, right? Besides, I mean, Love kind of
Besides the most important player in the game.
Yeah.
Well, Darnold's been cooling off lately, right? So, like you said, you guys were kind of both shaky. Look, I mean,
Jared, why is the Packers favored to in terms of Super Bowl futures? Why are they 1,500 and why are the Vikings way behind at 2,200?
Because it's the same reason you're saying. People don't believe that Sam Darnold will get it done. But how are we supposed to base that off of what we believe? Like if he can, he's been getting it done all year. I mean, he's been cooling off a little bit, sure, but he's gotten it done all year. So why are we saying that, oh, it's the playoffs, he won't get it done? I mean, people said that about Stroud last year, and then he won a playoff game. People said that about Love, and then he won a playoff game. Things happen. I mean, maybe they
Sure,
won't
like-
win the Super Bowl, but you can't rule them out.
Like the game against, I got the score up right here because I wanted to make sure I had it. 12-7. That was the score. The Vikings against the Jaguars. They beat them 12-7.
That was in Jacksonville, right?
It was arguably one of the worst defenses in the NFL.
That was in Jacksonville, right?
I don't know. It might have been a London game, to be honest.
No, it wasn't London. It wasn't. I'm pretty sure that was in Jacksonville. And me, not to make excuses. Hold on, let me just make sure before I say this.
Yeah, we know that.
Yeah. So 12-7 was in Jacksonville. Yeah. I mean, I'm not just saying that it's tough to play in Jacksonville. The Packers found that out too. I mean, you guys were down a lot, and you ended up winning, right? You played in Jacksonville, right?
Yeah, Love
It was-
played
it
the
was-
first half when he pulled them because we were up by so much. And he was
That
not
is
100%
not
healthy.
what happened.
Against Jacksonville?
You guys won 30-27, and it was 13-10 at
yeah,
halftime.
Willis came in, I believe.
Was it
4
close?
for 5. Love might have been
Yeah.
like knocked up a little bit, but
Love got knocked out. Love had a groin injury, I believe. So what happened
Oh,
was,
that was the injury before the Lions game.
correct, and that's why his status was up, and then we saw a not so great performance. Not saying they're linked. I'm just saying like after that game again, he got hurt. He did not play well, but he also did make some forces like that pick six, for example. I keep mentioning.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah, I mean, my
knew he
point
got hurt
is-
that game, but I thought they pulled him because they're up. But I guess
yeah, my point is that like the Browns, this is Deshaun Watson, so take it as you will, but in Jacksonville, they scored
they couldn't score
18 points. The Browns did. The Packers scored 30.
Guys on
They
defense, and went to
gave up
score.
27. It was a close game. Huh?
I said for the Browns, you could put 8 guys on defense, and they still went to score with Watson.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So you saying the Vikings only scored 12? I mean, teams like I don't know. The Dolphins scored 20. The Patriots
That
scored
was
16.
Scott
That's
Thompson,
not
too.
whatever. Yeah.
It's a huge difference for Miami.
The Texans just barely lost 23-20 in Jacksonville. It's hard. It is tough to play in Jacksonville. So like, yeah, sure, they didn't look that good. I'm not saying that scoring 12 points is ever good, but maybe that's just a bad week.
It's just putting up duds like that, or what? For me, rule out teams that. Like,
But just 2 weeks ago, you thought the Texans were contenders, right? When they were like 8-3, you probably thought they were contenders, and they scored 7 points against the Vikings. You know, like there's duds.
Yeah, I mean,
every
they're
team
on
has.
defense.
Yeah.
All right, would
I
you
don't
say
know.
Washington is a contender?
Like 4 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, 100%. But well,
Rookie quarterback,
I
that's
was,
a third test.
yeah. I was always on the
That's a
fence because I was always on the fence. Like, okay, are they good? They were going to be terrible going into this year. Are they good? Oh, maybe they actually are good, and then they were good, and now they've fallen off a
Like
little. But
Cliff Kingsbury's second half strike hit.
yeah.
Yep.
I have a game if you guys want. It's a quick one.
Is that kind of question? I thought that's like
Sure.
So, one of my dynasty leagues, I think like 8-5 or something like that in the fourth seed. So 6 teams make it. I'm going against the guy that is 6-7, currently in the 6th seed. All right, so I'm playing against them. For me to like move down a seed, like I can't move down because the team.
You're
below
gonna
me
try
is
to say, do you want to
less
win?
wins.
So you play a certain team or something? Is that what you're gonna say?
Yeah, like
Yeah.
I can't move up unless I outscore the guy ahead of me by like it's like 60 points or something ridiculous. It's never gonna happen, right?
Yeah.
So I texted the commissioner and was like, "Can I just bench my whole lineup, let the guy I'm against win?" Because like I would rather play like the guy I'm against this week. If he beats me and one other guy loses, which the other guy's against like top team in the league, so like it's very realistic that the other guy loses. Then
Mhm.
I would end up playing the guy again next week for the first round of playoffs, which is what I would prefer.
Yeah.
And either way, like the other guy that's in between us, like I would rather play him anyways than the 7 seed. So if I just pretty much like forfeit week 14, I would get a better matchup than the worst case scenario. So what like do you guys think that should be allowed to just pretty much like
I
All
can
these
tell
questions.
Drew and I are on the same page. I can pretty much tell.
Well, what did your commissioner say? What did he say?
I want to hear you guys' answers first.
If they make exceptions for you for 1 week to forfeit, that's what gets the ball rolling, and then the people will think, oh, well, this happened. You let it happen here. Why can't you let it happen here? I
Yeah,
think
it
if
has
you're
to be
You're gonna have
consistent
those
for
rules.
sure.
If you're gonna have the rules that you can't tank and you can't forfeit weeks, no matter what happens, I think personally you have to enforce those, and you won't be able to. That's what I think.
Look, Zach, I think if you would have went the route of starting Bo Scarborough, David Moore, no, but my real point is though, if you started lesser guys like maybe with better matchups or something, you did something like that.
Or maybe
played to
you
not
started someone
win.
that you just had a really tough, really strong gut feeling, just really strong.
So if I texted
think it's gonna happen.
you that, Drew, you would tell me I have to like I can start.
Hold on.
whoever they
Is this
choose.
Dynasty or redraft?
Dynasty.
Dynasty. Ooh. So okay, now ask your question. Sorry, I just want to interrupt. So
So like your answer to my question would have been you have to start a lineup, but it
Yep.
could be
yeah, I would want you to start a line. I can't have you just bench everybody because I'm gonna get a message from the guy. My thing is, who's the guy who's now gonna play this so-called stronger opponent? He's not gonna be happy.
Yeah, exactly.
Funny enough, it's the commissioner, pretty sure.
Yeah, like
Yeah, so why would you message the guy? And you
Your
should just start a
decisions.
lesser lineup.
your decisions have impact on every other team in the league. So
Yeah, I get that. And if I'm the guy in 7th right now, and
Yeah,
that
you're
happened,
pissed.
I would be
Yeah.
pissed.
Oh,
So that's like it goes from 2 teams that can possibly lose to 1.
Yeah.
You know?
personally, in your league, Zach, I need no, in Drew's league, I'm the 7th seed. In Drew's league, I'm the 7th seed. I need to win, and I need Tyler. I think Tyler needs to lose, and I need to outscore him by like 20.
Oh, I think
If
that-
right now
Doable.
you were like, yeah, you play against Tyler, Zach. So say right now you said, I want to play Tyler in the playoffs, so let me tank real quick and give him the win. I'm going to be pissed because I'm trying my best to get into the playoffs. I fought all year to try to get that spot, and now it's just taken like that easily. I would be
Yeah,
so
and I have
mad.
his draft
And
pick,
yeah,
so
I
I'm
would complain
happy.
to the commissioner.
I can, like here's
Yeah. So
the point of that though is like
that's why.
it's not like the guy that's currently in 6th that I'm going against. It's not his decision. I'm doing it like I want to do it for a strategic purpose for my own team. Like I didn't talk to him about it. Nothing. Like he didn't say a single thing. It has nothing to do with him. Like it's just all like strategic decision for me.
Oh, I get the strategy, Zach. If I was in your shoes,
Yeah.
like and for me it would depend. Like obviously there's a buy on the line, whatever. But yeah, maybe I'm switching out. Maybe I'm starting Jalen Warren instead of like David Montgomery. Maybe I'm doing some, like maybe that's not the best example. Or I'm starting Rashad White. I'm just thinking of guys I have in leagues. Over someone who I wouldn't start. But I don't think I would go as far as I think. If I'm the commissioner right now, I would ask you to set your lineup. And just not make it like crazy like the obvious takings where I've had to deal with where we've had people start. I don't even know Cameron Brate, like when he was
So
Travis
in a
Kelce
wrong-
or something.
yeah, Zach.
Yeah.
So in my 3rd dynasty league, I joined like 3 years ago. I don't know if I told you about this whole tanking thing that's going on in that league. Like a lot of people are tanking, like a lot of people, and we had a huge a huge fight happened in our group chat that that's not allowed. We had a vote on everything, and people are pissed about it. Like it was terrible. Like there's like 3 people in the league that are tanking, and they're like 1-11, and the top. I clinched playoffs in week 10 as the 6th seed. Think of it that way. I was like 5-5, and the next highest was like 2-8. Like it was terrible. So I'm in playoffs already, and I'm just gonna say, me and my friend that actually got me to join the league, we're both leaving after this year because there's zero integrity. It ruins the entire league. If you allow it once, you have to allow it more than once, and it's not good for the league. And yeah, you want a little better, better placement and it's strategic and all, but to other people,
like,
it's cheating.
If it's the full season, definitely not. Like I wouldn't be doing it for the full season. I'm asking for like one specific week for a playoff strategic purpose. Like, do you guys know Upper Hand Fantasy?
Yeah.
We've seen that count, yeah.
I'm in a league with like some of their followers. Like, they have a Discord that I joined, and a bunch of people from the Discord made a league. It's like a 14-team league, and 2 of the guys have done that. Like, they're like 3 and what would it be? Like 3 and 10 and 1 and 12, and like they put up 40, 50 points a week. Like, they've been doing that all season, and like the commissioner said, it was fine. Like, that's in that situation, I feel like that's not okay. Like, you should have to start your best lineup until like but anyways, in the situation, basically the commissioner told me my entire lineup has to be active players, but it can be anybody. So like, I'm starting Jalen Wright and Kamani Vidal over Jahmyr Gibbs and Breece Hall.
See,
so like it's clear that I'm like tanky. Like, he said I have to start an active lineup.
I really just don't like that in any way. Like,
like they're not gonna put up points.
If the commissioner allows that, our commissioner in our league doesn't know anyone's leaving yet. There's going to be like 3 or 4 teams that leave. Is it really worth that for the commissioner to allow that and then have to find 4 new teams for next year?
Like, I don't know. And that's why I don't want to just like do that. That's why I sent him a text, like, see what, I guess, what he allowed and what he didn't want to allow. In my league, if somebody texted me that, I would have said, like, no, you have to start your lineup. I would have just told them, like, you have to start your starters, and that's it.
Yeah, I'm one of the strongest people against tanking in any way, even if it is for 1 week, or even if it's like, oh, I'm up by 1 point and I have a receiver that's going tonight. Let me take him out of the lineup. I don't even like that, because it's like, oh, then you're guaranteed the win, and it's.
What about in Dynasty? You just trade away everybody. So like, you just don't have anybody you just trade everybody for picks.
Depends when you trade it away, during the off season or during the season.
Off season. You go into the season, like me and Drew are in a league where a guy did this. Like, he won the championship. His team was super old, so he just traded away everybody.
Did he leave the league, or is he still in the league?
No, he's still in it.
Okay, there's a difference
there.
If you trade everyone and leave the league, that's obviously terrible.
He's 0-14, Zach. He's gonna be.
Yeah. So pretty much
for this guy. Yeah.
He's projected like 50 a week, like going into the week.
But he's not tanking.
It is his best lineup he can.
Yeah, exactly.
He tanked in the offseason, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm for that, and that's where I think I'm good. I'm good if you want to. It's like you did this even in the same league last year. You know, you didn't have a great team
for the last 2 years.
Yeah, and now you're getting better. But you always set your active lineup. You set your relatively best players. You know, it doesn't have to be perfect. I've only had to step in leagues where, I mean, I've had guys not even start active lineups. I've had guys try to start third string guys who are elevated off the practice squad. I've had things like that where I've stepped in, but and I'll just say, hey, you gotta start some, put someone in there. Obviously,
something that I guess varies commissioner to commissioner and what they.
Zach, I will say that as much as I'm against tanking, like, I do see your point here, because it's like, I put myself in this situation. I am 8-5. You are 7-6 or whatever. Like, I worked to, be the 4 seed. Why should I have to adjust what I want to do for the 7 seed when I'm clearly a better team? I've been better. Why should I, listen to what you want so that why do I need to help you out when, I've gained an 8-5 record? Maybe,
you should win the games earlier in the season.
Yeah. So that's where I see your point. It's like, you shouldn't have to help anyone out. But I think where I struggle is just the integrity that if he allows you to, he's going to have to allow others to.
I think what the commissioner pointed to is like, say in the NFL, you have a team that, they are locked into the 2 seed, right?
Yeah.
Guaranteed 2 seed, can't move up, can't move down. They're playing the team that's currently the 7 seed. That they're either dropping out of the playoffs or they're going to be the 7 seed, right? They can't move up. Well, if that team wants to play the 7 seed in the first round of the playoffs, what are they going to do? They're playing all their backups, right? That's
Yep, we don't want our fantasy players to get hurt.
Yeah, like they're just gonna say like, we can't move anywhere. We're gonna play our backups to avoid injuries, and we'll see you guys next week again. Like,
Yeah,
Well,
but
the
we
same-
can't injure our players in fantasy though. That's why.
Do you know what you're saying the exact same scenario as the Ravens and Steelers from last year? Ravens were like the 2 seed, Steelers were like the 7 trying to get in. Ravens started Tyler Huntley, Steelers put out their entire lineup. They beat the Ravens, they got into the playoffs. They didn't play each other. I think they moved up to the 6 and the Ravens stayed at the 2. So they didn't end up playing each other, but I mean, same thing happened in the NBA last season. The last few seasons. The Bucks were the 1 seed or the 2 seed, whatever they were, 2 seed. They didn't want to play the 76ers the first round. So they moved down to the 3 seed. You know, like they purposely lost a game or whatever it was. Even last year, they didn't want to play the Celtics in the second round or first round, whatever it was. So they made sure that they were the 4 seed or the 3 seed. You know, teams like go about it, but I think what you did wrong is you kind of made everyone aware of it. You're like, hey, so we're like, if the Bucks came out and said, everyone, we're trying to lose, don't look at us, we're going to lose this game, then
Yeah,
people
but,
are going to
like,
be pissed. But if you
because
kind of keep
it's-
it low,
because it's
maybe
fantasy,
not.
it's like my lineup right now is projected like 55 points, right? Like it's
you made it
gonna
obvious.
be
Then.
obvious.
Yeah.
Like I didn't.
What you
have
could have done
backups.
is
I didn't have any
As the
backups
games
that
are
were like
going on.
relatively close though. It was
Yeah.
either like I'm starting a guy that's projected 3 or 4, or I'm starting Jameer Gibbs. Like
the only
it's gonna
person
be
that would
obvious.
say something is the person that wants the playoff spot and the person you're playing against. So as the week's going on, maybe you just
Well,
the 3 o'clock games, you take one out and put.
They're making the playoffs. They're not gonna say anything.
Yeah. I mean, like the person you're. Yeah. Never mind. Yeah.
The
you're right.
7 seed that's getting screwed over might say something.
Yeah, they'll be the
Oh.
only one then. Yeah.
Now the funny part of all this is going to be probably Zach's going to look next week in the playoffs. What's going to happen is the guy who he ends up wanting to play is going to just blow him out of the water, and the
Yep.
guy that he
Put up like
would have
Yep.
played is going to put up only 70.
Yeah.
That's going to be
Yep.
the karma of all this.
Do you guys want to do this real quick? It's a quick game. It won't take too long.
Yep. Ready
It's
to
literally
roll.
just naming the top interception quarterback leader of like top quarterback in the last 23 years since 2020 or 2000.
in a single
Yeah, the year
or,
2000.
like, throughout the whole time.
How many guys are there?
I mean 2023, 22, 21, 20, 19, 18, 17, but on like that till
Oh, so naming the single season leader for the last.
yeah.
Oh, so I got to put years up here.
I mean,
How many years?
just
how
put
many years we
23, 22, 21. You can go to like 2010 because the ones after that get pretty difficult.
Well, we'll just.
Click
Okay,
it.
now we'll.
Or go 2008. Go to 2008. How about that? Because do you guys know like Joey Harrington, Mark
Yeah.
Bulger, Jake
Yeah.
Plummer, like busts, you
Yeah,
know,
Jake Plummer was
Trent Green.
Trent Green was a Bill, right?
No.
No, he was a Chief.
Okay.
Oops.
Vinny Testaverde's on here twice. So yeah.
All right. So starting 2008, this is gonna be terrible. This is not gonna be a quick game.
Go ahead.
But let's.
I can give you the teams too. I can give you the teams if you need.
Let's start without the teams for a bit. Drew, you wanna
Okay.
share your screen as well.
Oh, it should be up. Oh no, here it is. There's your screen.
The teams
now
might
it's
help a lot. I'm just gonna
Do you want us
say
to name the year? No.
you don't need to.
No.
Well, I'm saying like we can name some of the recent ones. without-
Yeah.
Wait, is there guys who have led more than once, or is like every guy different each year? There's got to be some continuity.
It's different every year.
Really?
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
give me Jameis Winston.
That would be 2019. Yeah. He had 30.
Yeah,
Obviously. 30. Yeah.
Say Jay Cutler.
2014, he had 18.
Didn't Dak?
When I did this, I immediately got 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 of the last 17 years. So,
Give me Dak.
but I also saw the team, so it was a lot easier. Dak had it in 2022.
Yeah,
had
this is that
15
first league
only.
year. Yeah. and he
Yeah.
missed
Oh,
6 games.
I'm gonna say, oh, is Mitch Trubisky on here?
He's not. No.
Okay.
I feel like they didn't let him throw enough.
Some of these you wouldn't get unless you have the team.
Um, you can give Drew the team after this.
Okay.
Let's go. Who was last year?
That's why you need the team. Because I would have never got it without the team.
Peyton Manning.
Too
late.
Here's my guess.
No. Hold on. You said. Yeah. Never mind.
All right, teams.
That is rookie year, but he was too missed.
Okay, so I don't know if there's a tie in some of these, but 2023 was Washington. Oh, do you want 24? 24. I mean, it's Washington as well, but not Washington. Sorry, it's Atlanta, but that
Yep.
one. 22 you got.
It's 2 years.
But it also lists 22 again. There must be a tie.
That's okay.
We don't need to do it that. Or do you just want to go in orders and ignore the rules?
Yep, give us 21.
Okay. 22 is Davis Mills, tied. 21 is Jacksonville. 20 is Denver, tied with Carson Wentz on the Eagles. But
Okay.
18 Pittsburgh.
I was gonna say him.
17 is Cleveland. This will give it away. 16 is San Diego. 15 Jacksonville. 14 is you got that already. 13 New York.
JC is the acronym, I believe. I did mess that up. Okay. That's okay.
New York
That's-
Giants. 2012 is New Orleans, tied with Dallas. The Dallas is Tony Romo,
Oh, okay.
but we won't do that. What are we on? 2011
Yeah, we can do this.
Buffalo.
Yeah, this made it really easy.
Yeah. 2010 is the Giants, so I guess there is a duplicate. That's the same person.
Overrated.
And 29 or 19 is also a duplicate, Chicago. And then
2009 is also Chicago.
Yep. And then 2008 is the Jets.
Or you say like Cutler?
Like, is this Cutler again? Do I just need to put it in
yeah,
here?
yeah, it's Cutler again. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I feel
The
like
floor is mine, and I
There
will
was
go with-
sorry, I'll say this before we go. There was a four-way tie for no, never mind. Number three. Three-way tie for 2007. I didn't want to include
Right.
that.
Kirk
That's
Cousins.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. 2019.
Who did Zach say? I didn't hear him.
Howell. Sam Howell.
Oh, yep. And then I will say Trevor Lawrence.
Some of these are
Zach's
difficult.
superstar quarterback, Trevor
Most
Lawrence.
of them are pretty easy.
Big Ben.
Yeah. 18. He just skips over Denver. Yeah. Yeah. That's one of the ones I got wrong. Just going to say.
Okay.
Ben.
I feel like I
yeah.
know who it is, but
Yeah, well, there's two guys it could be.
Yeah.
I gotta skip that one. Cleveland. Is that Kaiser?
It is Kaiser. Yeah.
I should not have guessed that one, but there's so many easier ones.
He had 22.
Philip Rivers.
Yeah.
Manning,
For,
E-
yeah.
Eli,
Yeah.
twice.
Drew Brees.
Yeah.
These could
Mark Sanchez.
No.
I shouldn't have guessed that one. That was a waste.
Blake Bortles.
Yep. That's
Yep.
who I was gonna guess next. Tyrod Taylor.
No.
These are the three that are kind of tough, but you'll get them, I think.
Manuel.
No.
Who did Zach say?
EJ Manuel.
No idea. Let's just move on.
Denver. Is it Bridgewater?
Nope.
Okay, now I know who it is.
Who?
No.
Drew Lock.
What'd you say? Yeah, it's Drew Lock.
Oh, it is. I was gonna guess Trevor Siemian next.
Yeah.
I was between
Lock.
Bridgewater
Drew
and
Lock.
Lock. So I was hoping you were
Lock
going to say.
had
Oh no! I'm saying
15.
that was my third guy, Zach, behind them. No, yeah.
so
That was COVID.
he had 15.
Okay, and then Jets. So I said Mark Sanchez, and I guessed Tyrod Taylor. It's neither.
These are different guys, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I
2007 had a 3-way tie for Eli Manning, Carson Palmer, and John Kitna.
we would have gotten 2 of those 3, at least one. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I didn't include that. But
Is Fitzpatrick on here?
Yeah, he's Buffalo. Yep.
Okay.
He had 23 that year.
He was going to be. I wasn't sure which one I figured he was one of them. I didn't know which one he was.
yeah,
I got no clue for 08, Zach.
I don't really know either. Favre.
yeah.
Oh, nice.
Brett Favre.
Wait, I guess surprises for me on this list. Breeze, 2012. That's surprising.
Mhm.
Manning on here twice. That's why I was like overrated.
Yeah,
And then, I guess Philip Rivers at the end of his career was
he just
an
passed a
exceptional
lot. Same as
Yeah.
Ben. They just threw a lot.
Same with Breeze.
Trevor
Yeah.
Lawrence, his rookie year does surprise me a lot, though. I mean, I knew that he did have a great rookie year, and obviously wishing him the best, but I don't know. It surprised me there. And then Dak too. I guess Dak that one year that doesn't like.
I mean, so there's a lot of
All these
different.
guys.
There's a lot of differences because I mean, Trevor Lawrence led the league with 17 in a full season, right? And he
Yep.
was tied with Matthew Stafford. But then there's obviously years like Jameis who had 30. Then there's Eli Manning had 27. Like sometimes you don't have that bad of a year, but you still find a way to lead the league. You know,
Wow. How many did
like
Cutler
right now
have
Jordan
in-
Love has 11. Gino has 9. I think 12, and then Kirk
Cousins
has
just
13.
threw 4.
Yeah, yeah. I have no idea how many Cutler. Oh, how many did Cutler have? Cutler, what year was that?
14
09?
and 9.
So 09 he had 26,
Whew.
and 14 he had 18.
And keep in mind, those games too were in lesser. They had one less game too, so that's where Manning threw.
Yeah.
You said 27, 26.
Uh-huh. 26.
Oh gosh.
I mean, Winston
Yeah.
through 30 and 16.
Well,
Winston just yeah.
He's Winston.
You saw last night's game or Monday's game. Like that's what he's known for.
Yeah. All right, that was a fun game,
he's
Jared.
5
Thank you.
games this season.
Yep.
He only played 12.
All right. Well, I wish you all the best in your fantasy playoffs eve week before there. Well, Zach doesn't have many games next week.
Zach just has to win in your league, Drew. That's all I care about.
Well, yeah. Zach's got the next couple months off after this weekend.
Well, you would
Yeah.
have liked if Lawrence was playing then, I guess.
Well, you have to hope that Tommy DeVito starts, I guess. I don't know.
He's out.
They
Is he?
said he's out. Yep, they said Locke's going.
Yikes.
I myself am not playing next week because I got the bye. So I'll see you guys in 2 weeks.
Okay.
2 locks for tomorrow night's game. Jordan Love under 1.5 sacks, and Josh Jacobs over 65.5.
It's got to be
betting
up
on sacks.
Zach, with Reader out now, I bet that line's up from 60 whatever. I bet it moved already.
Yeah, I have no idea. I don't know. I got
Yeah, Jacob, sure, but sacks? No, you're not taking that line. Come on.
Packers O line is good. Top 5 O line in the league.
I
And then
I read a
against
stat,
the depleted Lions front.
Zach, since the bye or what was it, the last 3-4 weeks, they've been allowing some of the most pressure in the NFL. Like they're in the upper half now since the bye.
Not sacks.
I said
Pressure on the
pressures.
line, just don't get a sack.
Okay. You're saying that. I get it. You're saying that, right? Pressures don't equal sack, but pressures lead to sack. You're just saying don't get sacked.
I mean, yeah, but you're kind of you're
All right.
taking a little leap in between there, you know.
All right, I gotta go watch
He's at
Marquette win.
71. He went up 5 yards or 6 yards.
I have basketball in like half hour, so I got to get ready.
So, And that'll wrap it then for myself, Drew Skyberg, along with Zack Rausch and Jared Valleskey on this Wednesday night. Thank you all for listening to yet another episode of Drew Sports Crew, The Journey to Million, the perfect podcast for you.